Oh, you want to play psycho killer? Can I be the helpless victim?
Cross your eyes and scream, man. Scream for your life.
Welcome, Scream Queens, Kings, and Things. Whether you're screaming at movies or the real-life stuff, I'm your host, Jenica Olin. This is my 45th episode. My theme of the month is Supernatural September, with 4 weeks of horror movies based on supernatural events. A family moves into a large old house in order to be closer to the hospital where their teenage son is receiving cancer treatments. Soon after settling in, the son begins experiencing terrifying visions and unsettling encounters that grow increasingly violent. As the family uncovers the building's dark past as a funeral home, they realize that the lingering spirits and sinister forces connected to it threaten not only their son's sanity, but also their very lives. If you're new here, each episode will have an intro, brief synopsis of the movie, and analysis of the film, and then we get into the true horrors of it all. Since this movie is supposedly based on a true story, it's at least a first-hand count of someone that I honestly think they are true believers in what they experienced. So my true horrors and horror talk portion will be combined. Spoiler alert, I've made it my job to spoil the shit out of this movie. Today, I'll be covering The Haunting in Connecticut 2009, directed by Peter Cornwell, written by Adam Simon and Tim Metcalf, starring Virginia Madsen, Martin Donovan, and Elias Koteas. The estimated budget was $10 million, and the estimated gross was $77 million worldwide. Tagline: some things cannot be explained. Some quick trivia about this film. Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are known for involvement in Amityville horror case, were investigators for this case. This is based on the story featured in the Discovery Channel documentary A Haunting in Connecticut 2002. The movie is loosely based on the real-life stories of Al and Carmen Snedeker, who lived in a reportedly haunted former funeral parlor in Southington, Connecticut. The poem, "As I was going up the stair, I met a man who wasn't there. He wasn't there again today. I wish he'd go away," was written by William Hughes. This case took place between 1986 and 1989. The story was first featured in a novel, In a Dark Place, The Story of a True Haunting, written by Ray Garden. Matt Campbell was based off Philip Snedeker in the true story, and sadly, Philip passed away in 2012, 3 years after this movie was released. Let's set the scene with the synopsis of the movie.
Why do bad things happen to good people? We're just a regular family like anybody else. We didn't ask for this, and we didn't deserve it. It's perfect. It's spacious and affordable. I'm just wondering, where's the catch?
Well, it does have a bit of a history.
First one upstairs gets first choice of rooms.
Matt, did you find a bedroom? Down here?
It's nice and it's cool. Everything's back there.
Mm-hmm.
The story begins with a series of unsettling black and white photographs, family portraits taken not in life but in death, faces of grieving loved ones, pose with bodies of the departed, revealing the home's grim history as a funeral parlor. We then meet Sarah Campbell as she sits down for a television interview. She's asked why this happened to her family. She replies that what he's really asking is why bad things happen to good people. Her voice carries the weight of something unspeakable. The timeline shifts back to 1987. Sarah is driving her teenage son, Matt, home from a brutal round of cancer treatment. Exhausted and in pain, Matt tries to keep his sense of humor, but Sarah is haunted by the long drives and the toll on her son's fragile body.
Please, God, don't make him suffer. Please make it work. Or I'll never...
I hear that. Talking to yourself is the first sign of losing it.
I was not talking to myself. I was talking to God.
Desperate to ease his suffering, she finds a large rental home near the hospital. The landlord offers her the first month free, and although the house feels too good to be true, she takes it. The rest of the Campbell family soon joins them. Peter, Sarah's husband, along with their other children, and Matt's cousins, Wendy and Mary. At first, the new house seems like a blessing, but it doesn't take long for Matt to notice strange noises, shifting objects, and disturbing visions. Drawn to the basement, he discovers it was once the home's morgue, complete with embalming tables and tools.
God, they're all dead. So sad. It's probably the only time they ever had their photo taken.
Even stranger, Matt begins seeing a young man named Jonah, a medium used in seances decades earlier. As the hauntings grow more violent, Matt learns that the mortician, Ramsey Ackman, desecrated corpses, carving symbols into their flesh and cutting off eyelids for necromantic experiments. Jonah was his willing assistant, forced to channel spirits in seances, until one final ritual ended in fire and death. Jonah himself was trapped, burned alive in the furnace below the house.
What are they?
Eyelids. Human eyelids.
Well, what are they for?
Necromancy. Corpse bothering.
Matt's condition deteriorates, and his visions blur with reality. His mother fears it's the cancer treatments, but Reverend Nicholas Popsecue believes Matt's closeness to death makes him vulnerable to spirits. Nicholas warns that the house holds the bound souls of the desecrated dead, and that Jonah may be trying to guide Matt toward the truth. The hauntings escalate to a breaking point. Furniture moves on its own, apparitions lash out, and the children are attacked.
What? Come here! What? What is it? What?
Matt uncovers false walls within the house, revealing hidden corpses crammed behind them. Realizing the spirits are bound in torment, he takes an axe, tears down the walls, and floods the house with formaldehyde before setting it on fire. In this act of destruction, the restless dead are finally released. Firefighters drag Matt and Sarah from the burning house. Against all odds, he survives the blaze. But more miraculously, his cancer, once aggressive and terminal, vanishes without explanation. Sarah's final words remind us that God works in mysterious ways. The house is eventually rebuilt, resold, and no further hauntings are ever reported.
I'm here. I'm here.
So now it's time to talk horror, and my guest today is Myriam Talks a Lot with screencenter.com. So where can people find you, and what have you been working on?
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm on Instagram and TikTok. Yeah, my website's through Blogger, but I am getting it switched to its domain. So yeah, you can definitely find me. My link is in all my bios and my link tree.
Perfect. Yeah. And I will link your information into the episode as well so people can easily find you. So today we're talking about The Haunting in Connecticut. And this movie is loosely based on the real case of the Snedeker family. But like most films inspired by true stories or true events, it's heavily dramatized and a lot of it is made up, just straight up made up. So we've got our family members, their names were changed for the movie. We have Carmen Snedeker is the mom. Alan is the dad. Matt Snedeker is the son. And he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so everything kind of centers around him. Then we've got Bradley Snedeker is another son. Jennifer Snedeker was the daughter. And then there were two nieces that were also living with them. And I watched a documentary on the actual people talking about the case, talking about the hauntings. One of the nieces was in the documentary. So she goes over like their parents were going through a divorce at the time, so they ended up moving in with their aunt and the Snedeker family. So there's, to say the least, there's a lot of stress going on in this environment at the time. What were your like first impressions of this family?
You know, I felt immediately like this was a little bit different than other paranormal films that I had watched. I think because of the centering around the son. And you know, watching the film, I was really interested in like what the connection was between his illness and what he was experiencing in the house and how that played into the family dynamics. And I sort of wondered, you know, if there was like a stress element to all of it. I know that there was a relocation and they moved to be closer to where he was getting treatment. And up until the ending, I don't know if I can include spoilers, but you know, the way that it all
Yeah, I
came.
include spoilers. I spoiled the shit out of movies.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So like with the ending, it was a little nonsensical, even for like a paranormal movie, the way that he was like sort of just like cured. So yeah, it was deep. I think the cast, I went in blind. I had never seen it before. So seeing the cast, I was sort of like, oh, okay, you know, these are familiar faces, these are good actors, and I'm really interested in seeing them tell the story. And yeah, the uncovering of everything was unnerving, but also like kind of took me into like a informative place where I was just learning all of these new terms and things involved with seances. I would say paranormal is like not a subgenre of horror I watch too often. Yeah, you know, I kind of see why people place this on a high level in the paranormal subgenre.
Yeah, I mean, they do a lot of things really well in this movie. I have like a background of these characters because there's a lot, like, the background is really important for this case. So, Philip, who is Matt in the movie, he was 13 when he was diagnosed with cancer. So, that is extremely devastating. I can't imagine having a 13-year-old and like, I mean, I'm a mom, so I can imagine having a 13-year-old, but I can't imagine my child being diagnosed with cancer at that age. That would be devastating. They had a live-in babysitter because the mom was having to drive 306 miles a day round trip to take her son to chemo treatments. And the treatments and trip each day was exhausting on him and the mom. And she was worried about the toll it was taking on him. So moving closer to the hospital was a logical move so he could get rest and not add hours of motion sickness on top of chemo treatment. I think they do a really good job at the beginning of the movie showing that, showing how long it took her to get home. There's like that conversation between the mom and the dad at the beginning where he's like, you didn't get home until like 2 a.m. or something like that. And she was like, well, you know, we had to stop every 10 minutes because he had to throw up. I felt like that was very heavy. And so she is searching for a rental home to be closer. But that also adds in a lot of difficulties. Like they make it very clear in the beginning that they have a lot of financial strain. There are a lot of kids. They've also taken on two of the nieces, and they're already barely making it by. And the dad works where they live. So he can't just get up and move closer to where the treatment's being done. So that's also going to add on a layer of stress. The house used to be Hallahan Funeral Home. And in the short documentary titled The Fear is Real, they explain the floor plan and different parts of the house. It's very creepy. And I would not want to live in this house unless I was someone that ran a funeral home.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you thought this was super creepy, that it was a funeral home.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's what makes the film, compelling and believable in experience of watching it. Because I was like, well, I mean, it's hard to tell whether it was this collective madness or you were experiencing something given the setting of where it takes place. And I think that it also happens with a lot of paranormal haunted house films where you're just like,
Hmm.
where did we move into? Why didn't you tell me? If I would have known
Hmm.
this, I would never have been in this space, because I think that adds almost this paranoia and this added layer of anxiety where you're just, it could make you start seeing things because now you're having that self-awareness of what is going on and what took place, and it might make you start thinking things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
In the movie, they don't make it 100% clear. When the mom is looking at the house, the owner says, well, the house comes with history, and that's why it was so cheap. And the mom knew that same day that she went and looked at the house that it used to be a funeral home. She denies it. She doesn't tell her family because she knows it's fucking creepy, but she knew it used to be a funeral home. No one died in that house. They were already dead, whenever they get in. But I'm going to kind of explain some of the layout of the house. And I found this all through that same documentary, The Fear is Real. So the south coffin room was Philip's bedroom. He wanted to be in the basement. And the basement is where all the coffin like equipment and embalming stuff was. And the north coffin room, there were big metal pipes sticking out of the wall. And that's where the coffins were placed.
mm,
And they were on display for people to purchase. Past the furnace, there was a blood pit in the right corner. So when they would embalm people, they would have a table above it, and the blood, while they embalm the body, would drain into that pit. So that's
mm,
creepy as fuck,
mm-hmm.
right? You have a blood pit in your house. I would
Wow.
not want to live here, regardless of anything else. I would not want to live in this house. There was a bigger room with a coffin lift that was used that after they put the bodies into the coffins, they lifted them up through the floor into the display area, which makes perfect sense. I've never thought about how that happened, how they transported the body from the embalming room to the display area. It's all so grim.
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't even really conceptualize, the process that takes place in a funeral home. And yeah, no, like you touch base on like the reality, I guess, of them not dying there, but being there. So yeah, that's really interesting.
Okay, so there is the one scene where the mom is in the house with Matt and he picks his room and she decides to mop the floor. And there, in this scene, when she's mopping, it looks like she's mopping with blood.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember that.
This is actually a claim that the mom does make. She claims that when she was mopping, the water turned a deep red and was thick and turned a putrid smell. My whole thing about this is, did you check your water? Because there could have been rust in the pipes that like what didn't look like blood. She just said it was like a deep red. If this house has been sitting for a long time unused and you just turn on the water for the first time, I don't know if this is on well water. I don't know if this house is on city water. That all will affect your water. And your water can smell really bad depending on where you are and the last time you ran water through the pipes. So she uses this as like a claim of it being haunted, but like, why the fuck is a ghost turning water to blood? Why would they do that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't know enough about paranormal where it's like I don't know what they would do.
I
just know
mean,
that I don't want to
that's
experience it.
people, it's almost seen as like a vision, right, in the movie,
Mhm,
because then it
mhm.
goes away.
Yeah.
But she really holds on to that the fact that she had some putrid smelling, gross looking water meant that there was a ghost. And I'm sorry, but I always feel like this happens with these houses that have been like sitting for a long time. Either they were in auction or something happened there and it was in ill repair. And then they're like, oh yeah, and this falling apart house is haunted. Okay, sure. Or call your handyman, maybe.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting how the mind can like jump to conclusions based on like visual imagery. And I
mhm.
think maybe given the stress that she was dealing with and that already level of grief and just thinking about the state that her son is in, it may have just those kind of combination of things. It's sort of like you're looking for cryptic stuff.
So in this, another stressor was that, like I had kind of mentioned before, the dad was still working where their home was, where their other home was. And he had to commute back and forth on the weekends to see them. He would be with them Friday through Sunday. So that's going to be another stressor. He isn't around. He's paying two mortgages now. They didn't even have enough money to pay for one mortgage. So this is a huge stress on them. And we see this. He ends up selling his car. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And he gets like a cheaper car because he can't afford what they're doing. And then he gets upset about financial things like the electric bill. And he goes and he takes out the light bulbs. Like that, to me, that just showed me the financial stress and strain on this family.
Yeah, that could directly play into whatever they're experiencing just by their actions in response to their own personal struggles. I think that it's interesting how a combination of things can like create a problem.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, that's very fascinating. Yeah, I don't watch enough of these films, and I've never really thought too closely about it, but you make really good points.
Oh, thanks. So one thing that, like a thought that I had is I can't imagine being a 13-year-old boy, a child that is confronted with my mortality. I have cancer, I could die. And now I'm living in a
Yeah.
funeral home, and I'm getting treatments. Like, how ironic is that? Like, you are faced with your mortality, and then you're literally in the place where you go when you die.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
fuck me up.
Yeah, it kind of makes the film even better, those intentional choices of including certain things because, I don't do a lot of film analysis on this subgenre.
Hmm.
Now that I like think about it, I'm like, because there's some subgenres I just don't watch enough of, and it's more so because I feel like it's always the same thing. But I've never actually, until you mention all of this, have I ever really thought about what was their livelihood like and their emotional environment and their mental health like at the moment when all of this is taking place, and how is that affecting all of this. And it seems like it could have really been a component, and you really might start imagining stuff out of just like natural paranoia.
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely, and kids' minds are very active and imaginative. So I can't imagine in that state too, where you're feeling sick, you're going through all these treatments, you're in a dark place all alone. I would be seeing stuff for sure. I know I would. So they start seeing apparitions, describing dark figures with wide eyes, orbs, and human-like figures that you see through. Soon, they all started seeing apparitions. So it started with Philip, and then soon they all started to see it too. The more he talked about it, the more he shared his fears, everyone else started having that collective fear, right? So that's another one of those aspects of that like collective psychosis of, is this something that they're really saying, or are they having empathy with him, and they're also having this collective fear as a family. And I'm going to get more into it, but I don't think that they are lying, honestly. I think that they are true believers. This is one of those families where in the Amityville, I think that was total bullshit. I don't think any of them really believed it. It was a story they sold. In this one, whether or not I believe the haunting is real, I do believe the family really felt this fear. Like I watched documentaries, not just this movie, but I watched documentaries on them. And I really do think that they believe this.
I need to watch that documentary, but I also am like, there's a level of if you believe it, it is real. So it's like the haunting does take place because something is haunting them. It may not be the way that they articulate it, and it may not be something tangible to others, but there's something haunting them. And it might not be necessarily ghosts or spirits. And then, you know, what is that even? I'm not an expert in this
So that
subject.
would be like
So,
the
yeah.
mental health aspect, right?
Yeah, I mean, it would be the
And
mental health aspect, but also through the lens of like, I don't know, I guess I'm coming from it like a spiritual point of view of like, kind of like this, what you can bring about into reality if you believe it enough. I think that there's something that I'm one of those people when it comes to, I don't know what I believe about hauntings. I've never experienced it myself. And I really, fingers crossed, that's on my list of things I don't want to experience ever in my life.
yeah,
But it's not that I don't believe in it. I don't really know where I fall, but I think it's something that can almost be conjured because you believe it. So it's really interesting in terms of perception. There's just this like kind of metaphysical thing where I'm like, you know, who knows what you could have made possible with that much focus on the belief. It maybe was very much real to them. And
yeah, that's why, yeah, I believe
yeah.
that it really was real to them. But yeah, kind of to your point, this whole month, this is the last movie I'm doing on this topic, but this whole month I've been doing different haunting movies that are based on true events or true stories, quote unquote. They're all chocked full of stress. Either there was an abusive husband, there was financial strain, there was a merging of families. So here we have financial strain, we have a sick child, we also have a very large family that is taking in other family members. This is a lot of stuff happening at once. I think that definitely plays into it. And you know what I'll tell you? I have not seen one haunted story where there's a happy, wealthy family being haunted. Let me,
Yeah, and
you
I
know what
think
I'm
that
saying?
completely makes sense with what I think that completely makes sense. Like, it wouldn't really make sense for you to be vibrating at these positive high levels of consciousness and for something so dark to come into your space. I think that it would need to come into your space when you are experiencing something so dark. And that's not really like somebody, I don't understand paranormal stuff that well, but I feel like as a spiritual person, I feel like I could see how that would be the only way it's possible. There's a lot of ways that people verbalize it, you know, when they're battling demons. So that's just the only thing that I could think of if I were just to like build a theory, you know, for my own self. That's kind of what I would assume would happen is just.
That's a common like takeaway from these things where people will say, well, you know, if you're not open to it, basically, then you're not going to experience it. And so that's one way that people explain these experiences, why they experience it, but other people don't. And, you know, it's all very subjective if you believe that that's an actual manifestation of something or if it's more psychological. And that's where I kind of go more into the psychological.
Yeah, you know, I don't have the answers. It's not my area of expertise.
I don't think anyone does, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is something that, you know, it keeps getting touched on in horror and it keeps being brought up within psychology and all of these things because there is no clear answer. We don't have an answer to this question. So back to Philip and his things that he was saying. So he would see a little black boy who was about 6 in Superman pajamas. That's what he said. That's not shown in the movie. That's what he said he actually saw. In the movie, it has him seeing this, like, he's like a teenager that's like a medium, that the spirits are being they're doing seances and trying to bring the spirits out through him. That was completely made up. There was nothing like that. He never even claims to seeing anything like that. He said he used to come out in the South Coffin room, this little boy in Superman pajamas, and he would fly around the countertops. And he says that two other family members claimed to have seen the same boy, and they said he seemed lost and scared. The other cousins think he was just trying to play because he was a kid. The older cousin saw him, but never had an interaction with him. He would take the kids' toys and then bring them back with missing parts. So the younger kids claimed to have interacted with this ghost child. The way that they describe this spirit isn't malevolent. It was more of a like a curious, it was just a curious child. And I don't think that they were scared of it.
A lot of cultures discuss psychosis actually through this lens. There was like a recent study that kind of came out about United States and psychosis here versus in other countries, and how some of the visions are very different. I don't know if you saw that or looked into that, but it was very interesting that some countries experience psychosis is more of a good experience, happy connections versus scary ones.
Yeah.
I didn't look into it much further just because I don't know, I guess I just didn't have the time. But now that you mention it, it's like, yeah, it's interesting. I've met many people, and I don't like ever like invalidate their experiences. I just am I'm scared. So not of them, but of I don't want to experience it. So I don't. That's like
you don't want to let it in.
Yeah, like I've always been like that. Like there's just like very few things. I think I was telling you about bed bugs the other day. Like I'm like that's on my list. Like bed bugs, ghosts. Like there's just certain things, ticks. I don't know. Like there's just certain things on my list that I just don't want to experience or have like in my life journey.
Yeah.
And ghost is one of them because I feel very fortunate to not have experienced that, because I've met people who have said that they've, seen things, and some of it was very good and pleasant. Some of it was just like random. I had a housemate who said at like 3 a.m. when she'd sleep with her parents, I think she was maybe like 8 or 9, she was like scared to sleep alone, so she would sleep with them still, and she would see people from like the 1930s, like based on their clothing, like walking around the room, and they would just pass through the room and walk out. And I was like, I'm scared. And she's like, why? Like they didn't do anything scary. And I'm like, that's scary.
Yeah.
But for her, she was totally fine, and she just never really cared for it, and it was never a bad memory. But for me, it would be a bad memory.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting, any of these kind of phenomena that occur through many cultures, but the way that we interpret it is always very different. It's always very through the lens of our culture. So I think that's a really good point to bring up. And I'll definitely have to look into that study, but I've done research on things like that, especially when it comes to education, because there are so many different ways that we can look at something. And yeah, it applies to a lot of different situations. Where was I? Okay, so during the course of his treatment, Philip's cancer went into complete remission, but he started claiming that someone or something was trying to communicate with him. Doctors diagnosed him with schizophrenia. So he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And then Reed remembered watching as her first son started to play cruel jokes on family members, like locking his little brother in a chest and then forgetting that it ever happened. She eventually sent him to live with relatives, and he immediately stopped hearing voices. So that's all accounts from the family. Those things were happening in the house as well. According to Reed and Zaffis, 2 priests visited the home, but became frightened and left. A third, whom they did not name, was finally able to rid the house of evil once and for all, and after a 3-hour exorcism, said Reed. And that was also according to a 1992 article at the Hartford Corden, whatever. That's all of like the firsthand accounts that support it being a haunting / they're also admitting that the kids were playing tricks on each other and stuff. And that's not mentioned in the movie at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just
Yeah.
kids being kids. Honestly,
Yeah.
if you have that many siblings, I definitely would fuck with my siblings and be like, oh, there's a ghost down there, and like try to lock them in a room or something.
Yeah, I mean, I have six siblings. That didn't take place at any point in time, but I wish I would have thought of it as a revenge tactic. But yeah, we didn't play tricks on each other. We weren't always nice and we fought sometimes, but yeah, I feel like maybe we weren't adventurous enough with the jokes and the tricks because I'm like, man, we would have had probably some more fights with that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe my younger sisters did. I'd have to ask, but I'm the middle child, so I'm the
Yeah,
black
I'm the
sheep.
middle child as well. I know that for sure my siblings would mess with me with like my dolls, move them and stuff like that, and then lie that they move them.
Mm-hmm.
Just like little
That's
stuff like that.
spooky.
Or like I would even turn the lights off on people and like flick
Oh,
the
I would
lights
do
on and
that. Yeah,
off.
definitely. I would like leave the room and turn the lights off if they're in the restroom. But they saw me do
Yeah.
it, so they were just
Yeah.
like, "She's a bitch."
All that kind of stuff is just, you playing tricks on your family members. I would definitely, like, if I felt like I saw something or anything, like, I would try to convince others to also see that as well. And then that's part of that, like, collective psychosis that we kind of get into. So, oh, the mom says, okay, there were some crucifixes that were above, like, an entryway, and the crucifixes disappeared. And when they disappeared, that's when the haunting started going from the basement where Matt was, or Philip. I can't remember what his real name was. His real name was Philip, but it went from the basement into the house is when she said they started experiencing it. She thought there wasn't anything wrong with the house. She thought it was Philip having mental health issues, and he was admitted to a hospital. So he was actually admitted to a mental health facility at one point, which they don't mention in the movie. They started to have experiences in the house, and the mom then called Ed and Lorraine Warren. She called them because they have made themselves, they were basically predators in this space, and they made themselves known. Like they inserted themselves into so many cases that people didn't know where to go. They were the go-to, they were the loudest. And there's a lot of examples of that, and they are just not good people. But so Ed and Lorraine came, and I will tell you, this mom hates them. She hates them. She hates everything that they did with her story. She felt like they took advantage of them and just wanted to profit off them. And it is true. That's what they did to people. But they started to sleep in groups with the lights on. They put the mattresses and air mattresses in the living room. So they really were afraid. Like this family really believed that they were being attacked by something in the house, and they all were collectively experiencing this and making plans to try to protect each other. Like that's a pretty scary thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know much about, Ed and Lorraine, and I mean, I've seen the Conjuring movies like once, and I was just it's not my genre of choice, like my subgenre.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know anything about them. I don't know about the exploitation. I hardly knew that people really called people in for these kinds of situations. I'm not gonna lie, that's just happened. I just thought they were movies, and I'm kind of just learning along with this experience of doing this podcast. Like it's not
Well, I'm
really
happy I could
something.
be your teacher.
Well, yeah, like it's not. While I've known people who have experienced things, none of them mentioned bringing anybody in, and they weren't in any movies. It's always just kind of like I just hold space for people, and in a way
Hmm.
that I would want people to hold space for me, and I like to validate
Hmm.
people's experiences. And I've never had anybody incredibly close to me that had this experience that was like seeking help or was yeah, so it's really kind of like just these like, oh, one time this creepy thing happened, or oh, I have a ghost story. It's never been anything that I felt compelled to like learn more about this. If it was one of my preferred subgenres, I would know so much more about it. But I'm much more of like a slasher, sci-fi horror, anthology girly. Yeah, the paranormal stuff I've just never really, I think, got connected to because it's just too hard for me to see what's really going on. Yeah,
I mean,
it's
I
hard.
think it's a
Something
really
supernatural.
interesting subgenre of horror just because of the like the psychological aspect of it all. I grew up in a house that had a very strong belief in these things, and I did grow up believing that I had experiences, but as an adult looking back, I really think that for me, it was stress, it was believing in other people's experiences and then taking that on and then kind of it snowballing into seeing other things and just having a fear of it. But once I became an adult and I was able to decipher between my stress level and take medication and work on my mental health, those things were not happening anymore. And I wasn't experiencing those things anymore. So I connect it to mental health very strongly just because of my own experiences. But that doesn't mean that that's, everyone's experience. So there is the shower curtain that wraps around the mom. And it's a pretty scary scene because claustrophobia, like to be wrapped in a shower curtain like that is pretty terrifying. Apparently, that was based on true events that happened, but it also was a circular shower in the middle of a room with a curtain around it. Like I can see myself slipping on that thing if it was like tucked inside the tub. I could see myself like stepping on it and then like falling over and wrapping myself in it.
That sounds terrifying.
Either way,
And I'm
it's
clumsy,
terrifying.
so that would happen to me. I
But I mean, with the way, do you like visually, can you put that together? Like it's the bathtub's like in the middle of the room, right? And it's like a circular thing around her.
I really hate bathrooms like that, where the bathtub is like in some random space. It gives me like,
Oh God.
I just feel like it
Yeah.
makes no sense. And like if you splash or when you get out, like isn't water getting everywhere? But I suppose you can just clean up the water. But then I'm like, what about the floor? I don't know. Just
But you have to put the shower curtain inside the bathtub because otherwise the
but I
water
wouldn't want it
still
to
gets
touch me.
out.
That's so gross. Yeah.
The thing is like if I'm in a shower like that, I can definitely see myself stepping on that shit. And then it's already circular around me. So of course it's gonna wrap around you. Like it would be terrifying, but I don't think that's like a ghost thing. I think it's like this was poorly designed. And who the fuck is taking a shower like this? But okay. The father also experienced having himself wrapped in the shower curtain. And I'm just going to say that this was an engineering disaster. Whoever designed that needs to be fired. So Lorraine Warren wanted them to get the news involved. The real family started getting the news involved. And her reasoning for getting the news involved was that it would bring the church in faster. So part of the problem with this is like one of Ed and Lorraine's tactics. They wanted recognition for anything that they were doing. And this is part of them exploiting the family. And the family suffered for this because they really believed in what they were experiencing. And then Ed and Lorraine Warren, they didn't care about what publicly going out and talking about this would do to them.
Yeah, I read about that. Yeah.
They were getting picked on because of this. They were shunned in the community. Neighbors were taking notes and noticing people in and out of the yard when it got dark. A book was written that calls them liars. And the family was extremely upset and hurt and claims that it's all false. They claim there was an actual exorcism in the house. Once the exorcism was done, they moved, and Carmen didn't want anything to do with them. She saw that they wanted to use her story and they didn't care how it affected their lives. She feels very strongly about Ed and Lorraine Warren. She's very open about it. She discusses it a lot. She felt like she was taken advantage of. And then there were people who would play jokes on them, like go knock on the door and run away, stuff like that at night to fuck with them because they knew that this family was going through this experience. And like, that's just so cruel.
Yeah, and this is what I mean by like they were being haunted. It's just hard to place by what. because at that point you're being haunted by your neighbors, you're being haunted by media, you're being haunted, so haunted is an experience. It's not always an explanation of a cause. It's not always a diagnosis, it's sort of like an experience. Like they were being haunted by their life experiences and their trauma and their grief, and maybe there was a supernatural. I don't know, and I'm not going to say whether I know or not because I don't know. But having the added layer of reporters and neighbors, it's like these people can't catch a break. And it's sad that these things take place, but there's a haunting happening. It's hard to place where it's coming from, and it seems like it was coming from a combination of very scary experiences.
So the current owners of the house came out and said that they have lived in the house since 1998. They've happily raised children in the house. And to us, the stories couldn't be further from the truth. This is not simply a house, but a home. We have never experienced anything unusual in our home. We ask people to respect our privacy. So people go and harass these people because of the movie, and they will try to see in the house, take pictures outside the house. But especially they bought the house in 1998. So, the movie came out in 2009. They've lived in this house for 11 years and then never had an experience. And now strangers are coming up to their house and telling them that their house is haunted. Like, I'd be fucking pissed.
I mean, you're repeating the cycle in the sense of like creating like a new haunting, because, this could burden them like mental health wise, or in my opinion, like you're conjuring, like at that point you're conjuring shit. I would feel like now you're putting shit in my house or you're putting shit in my brain. Either way, you're doing something. You're either putting ghosts in my house or you're putting ghosts in my brain. Regardless, like you're haunting me. So I would not, I think there should be laws against the way we storytell. And as somebody who does screenwrite, I've never imagined. The only real experiences I've ever thought about writing are my own. I couldn't imagine creating a narrative off somebody else's situation, and especially showing just the world is crazy, very unsafe. You never know what kind of individuals could show up to their house, and these people are raising kids. It just becomes unsafe all around to be like, this is the house, like, whoa.
In each of these cases that I've covered and I've researched, the homeowners after the original story have not experienced anything in the home. So there was a book written by author Ray Gerchin, who wrote In a Dark Place. And he has since distanced himself from claims of the Snedeker family and the Warrens. And he has continually disowned the book, proclaiming that it's 100% fiction. I also saw the mom speak on this book and this author, and she says she feels very hurt that he would say it's 100% false, but he also, he wrote it. So are you going to believe the author or not? I don't know. There are some authentic photos purportedly to show ectoplasm in this movie. However, they were seized upon as authentic at the time. Most people now acknowledge that what is shown is actually just cheesecloth. Like that ectoplasm, it's not ectoplasm, it's cheesecloth. They're lying to you.
And then there's proof of that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's
I had never heard of that to begin with until I saw the film. So I had never seen or heard of anything like that at all. I had to research it. You can fake a lot of things. So it's
you
not
can.
like it's hard to do. I would like to look at the pictures and see them. That was like the most.
I'll post it. I'll make a post of it and everything.
That was one of the parts. I was taking notes as I watched, and I was like, wait, what's going on? I had to go back. I was like, what's going on with what's coming out of their mouths? Like, because I've seen some paranormal movies enough. I like some a lot, actually. I love His House. I love Insidious. They're two of my favorite horror movies of all time. But none of that had ever popped up. So I was a little bit perplexed. Yeah, no, it's good information to have for sure.
So the character Reverend Popescu was supposedly based on John Zaffis, an investigator who worked the case. So John Zaffis happens to be the nephew of Ed and Lorraine Warren. In the movie, we see a creepy cutting of eyelids. That was all made up. Never happened. There are no claims of that. That was just lore added for creep factor to scare you. He was on a trial medication. So Philip was on a trial medication and asked if he suffered hallucinations. His mom says no, but she knows that he is seeing things. And that's what they show in the movie, but that does differ from real life because she did end up having him put into a hospital because he was having these visions. But then she felt guilty. And that's another thing she speaks on is how she felt guilty about putting him into an institution. And then she started to experience this stuff as well when he was gone. So, we can interpret that a few different ways as well. Although the film states that the house was destroyed in a fire and rebuilt, there was never a fire, and the original house still stands today. So the mom, she calls the husband a drunk and a liar, and she withheld the information from her husband, and that when it's revealed it used to be a funeral home to the kids. Knowing this information can feed into hallucinations he is suffering from as a result of the trial medication. So she was aware that putting her family in this home could cause hallucinations and feed into this psychosis. But it was too good of a deal, so she went through with it anyway, but she lied to her family. So I feel like she's culpable in some of this as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, those are interesting points. I don't know if I feel so like I have too much of an opinion on how I feel about her decisions, considering the amount of stress that she was under as well, which we kind of like discussed earlier in the film. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just one thing after another and I mean, it sounds like everybody was stressed. Like I really don't have like,
Yeah.
it's like hard to tell.
I don't blame her
There's so
at
many
all.
factors that it's like, it's hard to tell what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
I just know that there's like a lot of pain involved and a lot of survival mode kicking in and something just sort of working against it. It could be themselves working against themselves and not even knowing. And sometimes it seems like one of these things where it's like your body and your mind is failing you and working against you. And yeah, it's a very, very interesting story. I feel like I was less interested in it, upon starting the watch, just because I'm like, okay, this is the same similar structure to any other haunted house film. But now it's more like, kind of interested in what goes on and what conjures these sort of experiences for sure.
Yeah, so I definitely think the mom made the best choices she could for her family with the resources she had, with the constraints she had, all those things. I can't imagine being in her shoes and dealing with all of this. I mean, it would be so hard. They do show red marks on Philip's body. Those are from his chemo treatment. It eventually does show up as like writing in the body and stuff, and that's all made up, never happened. That was never even like the family never mentioned seeing anything like that. But they do show that the dad has a bad temper. They show that he has a bad temper, but they don't try to portray it as a demonic influence like so many other films do. So I actually appreciated that about this movie because guess what? A lot of dads are fucking assholes and would just come in and like take the light bulbs out of all of the lights and because the electric bill was too high, or he also comes home drunk and the mom like walks him out and is like, if you get drunk like this again, don't come home. Do you remember that scene? Based on the reported claims, Jonah the medium and necromantic experiments were all fabrication. None of that ever happened. The ectoplasm seances and corpses hidden in the walls are all fabrication. No evidence supports this. the eyelid box, and corpses stuffed in the wall, all dramatic inventions for shock value, never happened. These people, they came to a funeral home and they left in coffins or they left in ashes. Why would a funeral home, why would these people like put dead people in their walls? Matt being marked with occult symbols was all fake, never happened. Matt setting the house on fire to release the spirits was also fake. This fiery climax is purely cinematic. The family simply moved out of the house after the activity became unbearable for them. They do show Matt's cancer miraculously disappearing. And then before that, they show the doctor saying that his treatment didn't work and that his cancer had gotten worse. All of that was fake. He did go into remission. The doctor never told him that the treatment didn't work. It was not miraculous. He was going through chemo treatment. So all very fake. So mixed or questionable accounts. Ed and Lorraine Warren's involvement is very minimal. The Warrens did investigate and claim the house was infested with demons, but their accounts are disputed by neighbors, later tenants, and even the author hired to write their story, Ray Guerin, who later said the family gave wildly inconsistent testimonies. Pretty much went through all of this so far. So there's a lot of inconsistencies within these stories as well. I put a personal note in here that I don't think this was intentional, but I saw the apparition as like a manifestation of the cancer within Matt. It was a charred and rotting boy that could have easily been his cancer coming to consume him.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you say that. I actually felt like when I watched the film, I failed to see the connection between his illness and what was going on. It felt very disconnected plot wise. So I was more so watching it as just a paranormal film and analyzing it through that lens. You know, for this episode, we're kind of like connecting to the real events, and it's more of like, is this true or not? Which is something that it's not something that I dive into much because it's something I feel like can't be proven. So I don't really, but I failed to see the disconnect. And I think that was like one of the things I didn't like about the film is that when it ended, it was like, no, he's cured. And I was like, how the hell, like, where's the connection between what just happened and these other aspects that you guys are bringing up? And just, that's what kind of lost me in the film. It was just nonsensical and kind of focused on too many things. But I think when you break down the real life events and the background of each person and their struggles and mental health aspects, you know, all of it combined, it all kind of it's very much a plausible theory for sure. I still think there's this like little, I don't know, like mysterious kind of thing that I always find in all hauntings where I'm like, man, how did this happen? And it just don't happen to me.
No, I think it's, you know, the cancer and the stress and all these things are very much connected to the haunting. It's an interesting aspect of it. And it's especially interesting for this young man, this teenager going through cancer treatment, which is extremely hard on your body, especially when you're that young. I can't imagine. And then to be in a funeral home, all these things that I've already mentioned, like it would definitely add to the experience and make things even scarier when you're already dealing with life or death every day. Okay, so sadly, after many years of remission, Philip's cancer returned and he passed away in 2012. But this was decades later after the events in the house. So he eventually did die from the cancer. He died very young. It's very sad. You know, I can't imagine being that family and dealing with that. And it's a lot.
Yeah, you've inspired me to check out more supernatural / paranoia.
That's one way to talk about it.
Paranormal. You know, it's always been this thing where there's the same formula and structure for many of the films. So I don't think that I find myself intrigued by like the lack of unique concepts. We're really talking about their trauma at the end of the day, and whether it's mental health trauma, supernatural, whatever kind of trauma, paranormal trauma, like we're just holding space for whatever they went through, and the layers and layers and layers of just pain that their family went through. And yeah, I think it's really cool.
So before I let you go, I have one more thing. I have a game for you.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of an EVP? And I have a feeling you haven't, because you said that you haven't really explored this stuff too much. So do you know what an EVP is?
I feel like I've heard it in like Ghost Hunters.
Yeah.
Is it okay? Yeah.
Yeah. It's electronic voice phenomena.
Uh-huh.
And so basically there's this like voice box. You ask questions into a place that is suspected of being haunted. It's like a recorder, and it's supposed to capture the ghost speaking back to you.
Let us know you're here.
Okay, yeah.
Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
He says, let us know you're here. And then the ghost says something very low. Do you want to hear it one more time before I give you the choices?
I think I heard something, but I don't know. I guess I'll hear it again.
Here are the choices. They're either A, get lost, B, it's great, or C, go away.
I thought I heard it's great.
Let's listen one more time.
Let us know
you're here. Yeah, that's what I'm sticking to.
It's great.
Yeah.
So they think, I take the thing away. So they think it's saying, yeah, they think it's saying it's great.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Okay.
Good job.
Cool. I got a good ear.
All right. So here's the last EVP.
In the dark, so do something.
Fuck her right in the pussy.
I do know what that is.
So what do you think the ghost said?
I remember that video.
You remember that video?
I do, yes. I think of it often.
So do you think the ghost is saying fuck her right in the pussy, B, fuck you pussy, or C, fuck your bitch ass pussy?
Yeah, fuck her right in the pussy for sure.
Yes. Let's listen to that one more time.
That was the most unhinged human moment ever.
Yes.
In the dark, so do something.
Fuck her right in the pussy.
So, yeah. So that's EVP. Congratulations.
Okay.
You got both of them right.
Thank you. I'm official ghost hunter.
Yes,
but not really, because please don't come for me, ghosts. I don't want it. I don't want the smoke.
Thank you for being a guest on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Let's end on a high note. I just had my Saw franchise trivia, and it was great. So many young people showed up. I was very surprised. I would say pleasantly surprised. The crowd was great. I always love doing these events because the people are just always so nice. Yeah, so that event, so many people showed up. We had to even bring out an extra table. So that's always exciting when that happens. I have a feeling because, I do these events all year long, but the closer we get to Halloween, the more they pack out. So I know for October, I'm going to be doing the Halloween franchise. I did it last year and it was super packed. So I expect it to be even busier this time because that was like my first ever trivia. Basically, October is my 1-year anniversary of doing horror trivia, which is kind of a really crazy milestone to be getting to. I really, when I started the horror trivia, it was up in the air of like, do people even care about this? Are people going to show up? And some months have been better than others, and I've changed things around, and I have prizes. I play the movie. The best way I can describe it is almost like not Elvira or The Last Drive-In, but somewhere in that sphere of like, we're watching a movie, it gets paused, we have some discussion, do a round of trivia, then we watch some more of the movie, then there's another pause, another round of trivia, another discussion of some sort. I usually throw in some facts about the movie, maybe play a little game that has to do with the movie, and I just get creative with it. I really enjoy. Next month is going to be my Halloween one, and I expect that to pack out. So if you're a regular, please get there early. Like, I want my regulars to be able to have a spot and not have to contend with anyone else that's like just showing up for the day. There is going to be a costume contest at this new one. I had originally planned on doing all Halloween themed horror movies for October, but with the state of the world, I am finding it harder and harder to do things that are not advocacy. It's like I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Internally, like I feel bad if I'm not using my voice to help those that are being attacked. So instead of doing Halloween horror movies, I am going to be focusing on queer horror movies with a focus on the trans community. I'm going to try to maybe get some of my personal friends that are in the trans community. I know people. So there is a new movie coming out at the end of October, Queens of the Dead, and it is George Romero's daughter, her first film debut, and it is a zombie movie about drag queens. And so I'm extremely excited for that movie. I think it's going to probably be one of my top 5 of the year, but I'm also going to cover some other horror movies that have to do with LGBTQ plus issues. So I'm actually really excited to be doing that. I feel like it's a much better use of my time and my platform. And not only am I going to be doing that, I would not be giving any of these movies justice or the community justice if I just spoke on it myself, because I am an ally, but I am not part of the community when it comes to that. I do not have the lived experience. So I am asking people who are trans and are comfortable with talking about these issues. Other horror news, the new It Welcome to Derry trailer came out. That show is going to be pretty fantastic, I think. It looks really great. It's coming out on October 26th on HBO Max, and I'm very much looking forward to that. Shelby Oaks is a horror movie that's going to be coming out, and they launched a cryptic website, and there's a password for that. And that password is looking for Para, Para 7. I am all about these horror movies, creating these websites and stuff as part of their marketing. I think it's super smart. It's so fun, immersive. Like if you're creating a horror movie right now, there are so many ways to make the experience more than just watch my trailer. So I'm so excited about this. I'm going to be going on this website and checking it out. We also got a teaser trailer for The Bride, directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal, and it's a fresh spin on The Bride of Frankenstein. That's going to be released in theaters in March 6th of 2026. So we've got a little while for that one, but it looks really good. I know The Strangers Chapter 2 is going to be in theaters this Friday. I haven't decided if I'm going to see it or not. I did not like the first one. I really didn't like the first one. I probably am going to wait. Maybe if I see enough good reviews or something, and it's like people that I actually agree with their views mostly on movies, then I'll go see it. Oh, one other thing that I'm going to be doing. So I live in Florida. I love the parks. I love state parks. I love national parks. And I'm trying to be more of an outdoorsy gal and get used to camping and kind of conditioning for that. So every month I'm going to be going to a different state park in Florida and either camping or doing some trails and daytime stuff there. So with that, I am going to be making this more of a witchy aesthetic to it as well, and doing some campfire horror stories. If you have a story you would like me to read by the campfire, this will be recorded and I will be posting it onto my socials. You can email me your spooky campfire story at screamqueenpodcaster@gmail.com. And if you get picked, just, make sure you're following my account so that you can see your story be told to an audience. This is a weekly podcast with new episodes out every Thursday. All the research, writing, and audio is done by yours truly. This is a one-woman show, and I am doing my very best. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. It means a lot. You can find me on Instagram at Scream Queen Podcaster, Blue Sky at Scream Queen Podcast, TikTok at Scream Queen Podcast, and there's a link tree that will send you to my YouTube and Facebook page as well. Remember, read the warning labels on your medications, and also when you're at your doctor's visits and they're asking you if you're having any symptoms, delusions, anything like that, don't lie to your doctor. Let them know. Let them know. It really might be the medication. It could be. Until next time, goodbye.
Ha ha ha.